Hello.
How's it going?
We are on the road to 3,475,692 subscribers.
We want you to be one of them.
So do it now and turn on notifications.
Please.
Now enjoy the video. C2 Wrestling, we are back. Almost at C2 Wrestling Podcast. That would have been wrong because that was yesterday. Today is today. Tonight is tonight. Friday night SmackDown. But next week is next week, and that is Saturday night. Backlash. We'll be live for it right here on C2 Wrestling. Our live
Mhm.
reactions, John Cena versus Randy Orton. They're building it as the last time ever, which probably is the last time ever. We'll be reacting to it. The other matches are being announced. We got some matches announced for tonight, for next week. SmackDown, SmackDown, SmackDown. Snowden, I know a lot
Mhm.
of the attention on social media is about the roster itself and the roster cuts and stuff like that, but we did have a show tonight. We did have SmackDown tonight, and it was a wrestling show.
Yeah, it was a wrestling show. There's highlights, there's not so highlights, maybe. It was a fine show. Um, Backlash is, a week away. Feels like WrestleMania was 6 hours ago. Like it almost feels maybe it's a little rushed. I don't know. The flow of the show, SmackDown isn't quite 2 hours yet, 3 hours. I don't know. Didn't really flow well enough, but definitely some highlights to take out of it. You talk John Cena, Randy Orton, last time ever, last real champion. I need to see that graphic though, eventually, of all the John Cena Orton matches, and then that brand new one's going to be in that bottom corner. All 20 of them, whatever it is. But I'm looking forward to that. Some more matches added to SmackDown tonight, or added to Backlash, I should say, during SmackDown tonight. I mean, I think it's the most prominent thing to talk about is this U.S. title picture.
Yeah, it's probably what I'm most interested on SmackDown. Not to knock Cena Orton. Like I'm obviously interested in Cena Orton, but I have a different type of interest. It's more of like a
Mm-hmm.
nostalgia interest, like oh, all right, I'll be a kid again and kind of not think about things, like I
Yeah.
I know what the match will be, what the match is. The US title and really all of the non-champions that can be in the US title mix. I have a gripe that isn't to do with the US title. It is rough having Backlash already, and Money in the Bank is 5 weeks away from tonight. So you're really going to accelerate into Money in the Bank qualifiers, Money in the Bank stories as Tommy Boy goes flying in the background. I hope the US title, the SmackDown tag titles, all these don't take a step back right after Backlash because they have to cram in the scheduling of Money in the Bank and the build to just that and the Money in the Bank qualifiers. Like, I hope they don't take a full blown back seat because there's plenty of potential with what they have.
Yeah, there is. There definitely is. I'm not honestly too worried about the Money in the Bank build. It is 5 weeks. We still have Backlash in a week, so that's sooner than it would be for a typical PLE, especially a big four, big five, really being Money in the Bank. But if they keep it 6 man Money in the Bank, 6 woman Money in the Bank, first week after Backlash, you have two qualifiers on Raw, two on SmackDown. The following week, you have two more each, and the following week you have the final one. Whatever, you add 6 people, however you do it, triple threats, fatal four ways. The Money in the Bank matches you can build easy, in my opinion. It's kind of the things around the Money in the Bank matches that I hope don't get lost in the shuffle. I have a similar Orton Cena feel. I think we all do. It's really just nostalgia. It's pretty predictable too. Maybe not on the good side of predictability. I'm not gonna say it's on the bad side of predictability within wrestling, but it is pretty clear what's going to happen there. Nostalgia, maybe some moments, some highlight moments, but I hope a little bit more because again, the heel Cena thing is not quite clicking for me right now. So I'm hoping some more comes out of it. But the U.S. title picture is absolutely my favorite thing, really going probably all around right now, outside of Seth and Braun on Monday Night Raw. But Fatu gets a triple threat, turned into a fatal four way. The only person missing from the match, Solo.
Yeah, I originally thought for when Solo and Aldis, Jacob walks out after the match gets made a fatal four away after he hits a Yaramin and goes on his way. I thought Solo was going to kind of mouth off to Aldis, and Aldis was going to say, all right, fine, then you're in it too, and make it a five-way. As we mentioned, it does feel like the easiest way to take the title off of Jacob is a multi-person match. Not that I want it to happen this quick, but as I've mentioned before, I mean, just those four guys, Solo is five. Then you go a little bit deeper. Aleister Black, Carmelo Hayes, which we'll talk about them in a second.
Mm-hmm.
The Miz, we love The Miz. I know others will try to shit on
Go.
him, but still, The Miz. Um, Andrade, Santos Escobar, Phoenix. Like, I know some of them you'd mix into the WWE title picture, but right now they're not in the WWE title picture, so you put them in the
Mm-hmm.
US title picture. I mean, that's legit like 10 guys for a genuinely interesting story combination where it's like what we just had with the SmackDown tag titles, we could easily have with the US title, where there's just so many people going for it. You know, the show opens with Priest saying he's coming for Fatu's title, getting a bit more of that feel of people like this title's worth something again. This title is what people want. Yeah, you just, first of all, put it on a guy that people care about, and that
Yeah.
helps a ton.
Value. It's all about the title having value. Makes people want it. Makes us want to see people want it. It is a great mix of people, even without Carmelo and the Miz and Aleister and all those guys not quite in the mix yet. But the person that I wanted to kind of bring up more specifically in the mix is Drew, because Drew's in the mix, but he seems a little lost in the shuffle, even being in a mid card title mix to me. Now, it does seem like Fatu's set up for a decent run with this U.S. title, but I guess Solo could cost him advertently, inadvertently, any given time. So if I'm putting my money on it, Fatu probably retains, but I guess I can't rule it out. Solo finds himself in a U.S. title match soon, wins the belt from Fatu himself. I don't know. Can't say no to it, but I don't think Drew's winning it. So like, what's the story with Drew? Where is Drew going to go after this? This is maybe the end of the Priest feud. Does something happen to Drew? Does he get written off? There's rumors of a movie. Who knows? Is he going to fall out of the mix a little bit? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the interesting thought. I mean, before WrestleMania, there were rumors that he'd be feuding with Cody. Maybe that is the next thing. Cody originally, I think, was advertised for tonight and
It
then
was.
pulled from advertising because he's obviously not on the show. Next scheduled to appear like the 16th or something. So the first
Yeah.
SmackDown after Backlash, which makes sense. He's not going to be on Backlash. Again, goes back to what I talked about before. This show is way too quick after WrestleMania and crammed in between two PLEs. Um, but yeah, I could see Cody and Drew being a feud for a few
Money in the
months.
Bank.
Hell, yeah. Well, yeah, I could see Cody comes back and says, "I gotta earn my way back." I guess Money in the Bank is the route, and he's in a Money in the Bank qualifier, and maybe he beats Drew, and then Drew costs him during the Money in the Bank match, and
Yeah.
it sets up their SummerSlam match.
Essentially, they could
Like
run a
they're
trilogy between those two guys. Honestly, Cody and Drew,
absolutely.
they might run it a few
And
times.
Drew is a guy that's pinned Cody before. He's one of the very few.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting because I don't think Drew is going to like I'm not worried about him. It's more of a curiosity because it
Mm-hmm.
feels like the options are a little slimmer right now logically. Obviously everyone's possible. I mean, he could feud with Aleister Black tomorrow for all we know. Like
Love it.
he could feud with Ray Phoenix. Like there's definitely possibilities. I just don't see many of them happening. So
Yeah.
it is an interesting one. I don't see a Drew McIntyre US title run coming, but I wouldn't say no to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no to it either, I suppose. I guess never say never, but it is an interesting one. Interesting one. Jesus. Another interesting one. Like we said, Carmelo Hayes going against Aleister Black. Love to see that. Sign me up for that match. Put it on a 20 trilogy. I don't know, 20 time series, anything. I'll watch that match any day.
So it's interesting. Before we got on here, we both mentioned this that we were going to talk about it. That SmackDown almost needs a like a happy medium.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, the 3 hour shows on SmackDown feel long as fuck.
sluggish.
Like they feel very long. But at the same time, you're getting all of these stories on and you're getting all these matches in and you're getting your non-title stories in. Going to 2 hours, this isn't a Netflix 2 hours. This is a cable 2 hours. This is
Mm-hmm.
completely different. That's really like an hour and 20 of TV time.
Yeah, so tight
So,
too.
yeah, so, those 15-minute Ray Phoenix matches don't seem as possible every single week.
Well,
30-minute TLC triple threat tag matches don't seem as possible. So to go back to your original point, love Aleister versus Carmelo. Like,
yeah.
sign me up. They could wrestle every week. They could do a best of 70 instead of a best of seven. I'm watching
Mm-hmm.
every match. I'm enjoying every match. It's feuds like this where I'm like, I really hope they don't, when they go back to 2 hours, they don't stink it up.
Yeah, there's of course a little bit of that worry there, but the 2 hour shows, 2.5 hour shows roughly, it would be crazy if they could nail in like a 2:15 slot somehow. I don't predict it, but it would be nice. But Carmelo Hayes and Aleister put it on Backlash, if you ask me. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of maybe PLEs, Saturday Night Main Events, quarterly events, this, that. So, like, maybe SmackDown going down to 2 hours, you get the TLC matches on events like that instead, which is okay to transfer over. Matches, segments, things like Sign of the Night, whatever. There's going to be so much stuff that does get cut when you lose an hour, especially on cable. You say Phoenix might not be having 15-minute bangers. Yeah, probably not as much. I do suspect them more to cut 15 minutes off of Piper Niven versus Zelina Vega or whatever other matches are in that realm. It's a bit more likely for those to be the matches that kind of get cut time, and I'm sure people are going to be happy about that, but it's just probably what's going to happen. They
History
flow some.
says that's how it's going to
Yes,
go.
history says that's how it's going to go. Exactly. The shows need to flow better though, so like you got to make cuts somewhere. I just don't know. SmackDown's still not missing necessarily, but I guess we're in a little bit of a slow period too. It's post WrestleMania. Backlash is not maybe the most thrilling thing ever this year round. So I don't know. Backlash also, you got to think too. Where has it been the last 2 years? It was in Puerto Rico and that was massive, right? Where was Backlash last year? France? Yeah,
Yeah, France.
like there are pretty mega
Lyon.
shows in the last 2 years. And off the back of that, it's not this year.
I should also mention before SmackDown went to 3 hours, that last stretch of it 2 hours was fantastic. They were
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
putting
Yeah.
on great
Yeah.
shows, but they didn't have the women's mid card title also in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have as many non-title stories. They also were very bloodline heavy at times. So
Yeah.
better that we're away from that, but we have John Cena, Randy Orton. If it's a 2 hour show and Cody Rhodes, it's not impossible that, your first 25 minutes of a 2 hour show is a John Cena, Cody Rhodes promo. Like
Yeah.
that's not far fetched. I think it'll be fine. I'm just thinking of, mentioning that happy medium. There's so much talent that you want on TV. And when you obviously cut an hour of television, that's less time for people. And obviously that's not great. But tonight, I mean, 3 hour show, and we don't get the SmackDown tag titles, the Street Profits. The segment is just this look back, of
Should have
their
got him.
great, yeah, their great win, which was great. We did have Fraxium pick up a win against Pretty Deadly. Does it feel almost just like? I mean, it's not a bad predictable, but are they just gonna, is it cut and dry? All right, Fraxium's next up for the Street Profits because they're really the only fresh team for them.
I mean, I could definitely see them getting the matchup but not winning or getting screwed by another team somehow, somewhere. It also looks like on the flip side, we're eventually getting Los Garza's face turn with Andrade, something with them going on there. So what other heel teams are there? The Profits aren't even heels necessarily, like maybe that's kind of the shtick, but they get cheers. They're just one of those teams that's always going to get cheers. So it's hard to kind of put them in that category in my mind. So, like, what do you do with Fraxium then, too? Who would stop Fraxium even if that were the storyline? Who comes out? Wyatt Six return, but how does it make sense? I don't know. That's the only, like, thing I can come up with in my mind outside of maybe Pretty Deadly, but other teams that are a little bit recycled in the mix. Love Pretty Deadly. Don't get me wrong. They want to throw them in the mix, throw them in the mix, but Pretty Deadly and the Profits have done it a few times already. So I don't know. I don't know where they go. I don't think Fraxium's going to win the belts that quick.
I don't think so either. And also, the streets need Fraxium versus the Motor City Machine Guns. We need Fraxium versus
Yeah.
DIY. Whether those are title matches or not, I guess time will tell. It's kind of interesting in the fact that we've talked about the shakeup.
Mm-hmm. I
I
was just
don't
about to
think
bring it up.
I don't think they need a full-blown shakeup, but I think the tag team divisions and the women's divisions need a shakeup.
Well,
Like
it's
like
crazy that you say
the
that,
US
actually. Yeah.
title probably fine. The Intercontinental title probably fine since Dom is now the champion. They can do a few things. Sheamus still could come back. Ludwig can get in the mix.
Yeah.
They still have some kind of fresh things they can do there. But the tag team divisions in both and the women's division, they need like just a let's do a couple
Change.
trades here or there. They need a transfer window.
Yeah, we really have the same brain. I swear, I was literally about to say there's nothing in wrestling more, or no category of wrestling more that needs a draft, I should say, other than the tag team division. Raw and SmackDown both. They kind of need a shake up, a draft of some sorts to switch it up a little bit. New teams come up. Maybe you got to form a new team somewhere. Maybe some two people that they can naturally pair should pair up and join the division. Carmelo Hayes and The Miz are new. I still don't predict that really going forever. I don't think that's going to be a tag team winning or tag team championship winning tag team. I think it's more about the development of Carmelo. So we'll see where they go with that. But SmackDown tag title should have been on the show tonight. Again, 3 hour show. They didn't need a match, a backstage segment, even. I don't know, something. They should have showed face to some degree. It is what it is. Whatever. I'm not crying over it really. It's fine. But off the back of that TLC, you expect them to show face a little bit.
Yeah, it goes to what I just keep harping on. Like the backlash is just in such an awkward spot in the calendar that it's like,
Was it Backlash in the awkward spot? Or should I say, is it Backlash in the awkward spot? Or was it WrestleMania? Imagine WrestleMania was a week prior like it
that's
normally is. You
true.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but then everything else should slide.
yeah.
Like everything should, if WrestleMania
The
goes a month
Rumble, was it
earlier, everything
February?
else should go February 1st. It was really like two or
True.
three
Yeah, I
days later.
guess. Yeah, still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But sometimes it's like the 27th,
yeah,
so you're looking at 4 or 5 days earlier.
Mania
It's a
was
week
later,
essentially.
like
Yes.
1000%. They moved it to like 10 days,
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks essentially
Yeah.
later than it was last year. But everything else should kind of move with that. I get you don't want to do SummerSlam,
6 weeks or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, too far, whatever. But this just feels like so. I mean, you may as well have kept the WrestleMania Backlash name because it feels like
Mm-hmm.
the WrestleMania. Now, talking about it, I do want to bring this up. We have the women close the show. They're kind of still running with the same stories, kind of not, picking up some older stories as well. My question to you
Mm-hmm.
with Backlash and with this kind of like the post WrestleMania, dryness that you kind of expect that really wasn't there the last 2 years. Does it go to the fact that the stories just really aren't hitting, or does it go to the fact that Mania didn't really hit like the last few years where they were able to really ride that high for, a couple weeks and then it brings you into Money in the Bank where people are already going to be up and then it brings you right into SummerSlam where people are already going to be up. So is it, the stories aren't that great, or is it Mania just didn't really hit and now we're getting a lot of older stories, similar stories, quick stories that we're not grabbing it.
It's tough to really pinpoint. It's hard because again, the rosters are so deep and they're all so talented. So you want to see all these people win championships, do big things, but not everyone is going to be world champion. So it's hard. We're not even going to get into the cuts, but there's going to be cuts. There's going to be bigger things to come than somebody just maybe not getting a championship match they deserve. But it's hard. There's great things going on. Fatu, U.S. Championship, Dom, IC Championship, Great TLC. Profits seem to be on a good tag run. Raw tag titles could use a little bit of help, you know. Cena, the heel turn, that's the biggest thing really going in wrestling, and it's not quite hitting. Does it fall in place of WrestleMania? I mean, yeah, WrestleMania was kind of like a pinpoint for a lot of the big overarching storylines right now, and a lot of them didn't quite hit. I look back at Jay Gunther, you know, our WrestleMania live stream, we were crying over Gunther tapping out. In hindsight, whatever.
Yeah.
Who cares? Not a
Yeah, of
big deal
course.
at all. In the moment, oh man, that sucks. We love Gunther. Still our GOAT, always gonna be, but not a big deal. Cena, Travis Scott, No Rock, like those things hit heavy. That was, you know, a long build up for nothing. So everything coming off the back of that doesn't matter as much. You know, again, Orton Cena, it's cool so far, but again, it's really just nostalgia. You know, there's not really a whole lot of worth to a lot of what's going on in the bigger scheme of things. Jey Uso, World Heavyweight Champion. I've talked about it a little bit. You know, I think him versus Logan makes sense. I get it. Fans hate Logan. They're going to hate it. You know, in 10, 15 years, he still might not be a great guy, but people are going to understand why he did get these title shots and these moments and things like that. So it is what it is. You know, maybe that's not everyone's favorite right now. I don't know. Those bigger pictures need a little bit more right now.
Yeah, the Orton Cena to me feels it's the biggest match they could have made that you can do with the shortest amount of build. Because
Mm-hmm.
they've faced so long, they have such a such a storied history that you just announce the match and really you can just have it. Like they wouldn't
Yeah.
even they really don't need these last few weeks and next week, but obviously you're gonna do it. No Cena tonight, like they could have said Orton Cena like just the main event of Backlash is tonight, and it would have been like, yeah, it makes sense. Like it doesn't need a
Yeah.
week or two more of the build. The U.S. title needed tonight. You know, if Aleister versus Carmelo turns into a match, like yeah, it needs tonight, it needs next week, whatever. Cena Orton, like the Raw after Mania, they could have been like, we're facing on SmackDown, and it would have been like, yeah, all right. I mean, really doesn't need the build.
You know, I was thinking this earlier. I'm going to ask the question. A draft might be coming, sure. You know, they've hit around this time. They hit in September, October-ish, I feel like, too. So who knows? It can come eventually. Regardless, brands need a little bit of a shakeup, like we just said in spots. Do they need brand split pay-per-views again, PLEs?
No,
You don't think
no,
that would help at all?
no, because I prefer the shorter card PLE
100%,
and
yeah.
having the TV shows have relevant matches.
Yeah, I 100%. I don't think it, like in this current world of wrestling, I don't think they are going to take away from TV matches as much as they would have under that Vince era. You know, it's pretty clear that they would purposely not put on 5-star matches on Monday Night Raw because they have a PLE coming up, whatever. I don't think we'll get that loss of value or whatever you want to call it in the TV matches, but maybe you get to showcase a couple more things, you know. Again, great TLC. Are either of the tag belts going to be defended at Backlash at this point? Even
The Raw tag titles
could,
might.
yeah, they could. They're more likely than the SmackDown tag
Yeah,
titles right now for sure. But like,
it's not
I don't know.
guaranteed though.
It's not guaranteed. It's not really slid in. Street Profits, you know, sure they just had it at WrestleMania or a week after WrestleMania, whatever you want to call it. But what was the last tag title match they were on? Those titles were on Royal Rumble, right? The Guns,
Yeah.
DIY, yeah, like that's a while back. You know, like women's mid card tag titles. We don't even really got to get into it. You know, like there's a lot of
And
things
the
going
women's
on.
tag titles are going to be on for a month now.
Yeah, women's tag titles too. Like there's just a lot of saturation,
They should do
oversaturation, maybe in
interim
ways.
titles.
Oh
No,
yeah, they should. They
I
definitely
agree,
should.
but one thing I am confident in saying,
Yeah.
TKO, who from the jump said they will do less shows. They already thought
Mm-hmm.
WWE was doing too many shows.
Yeah.
There's 0% chance they're giving us more PLEs unless
Yes.
they're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we make such a killing on these PLEs that we can sell them like hotcakes, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. I highly doubt it, but I want the TV shows to hit. And
Yeah.
yes, the build for the PLE will be pretty decent, but I would much rather get that TLC match to main event SmackDown and
Yeah.
get the, you know, whatever, the IC title, the US title, the women's IC title, whatever. I'd rather those matches be on the regular weekly shows, get the payoff there, than they just really because dude, those split
Oh
pay-per-views.
yeah, 100%. I was gonna get into it. Yeah, they're tough sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, sometimes like
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, the roster is much better now than it was back
Hmm.
when they first did it, but and it's not Vince, but there was some
Yeah.
nonsense they were doing on
Oh yeah,
those.
there's some nonsense. It would be great to see a little bit more of people getting showcased, but also, again, there's so much talent. Rosters are so deep. We're past 12 PLEs a year. That's not enough. But, what are you going to run? 12 per brand, 24? Like, that's too much. So you got to find a happy medium with the split brand pay per views. It's a little bit of oversaturation, but I don't know. I feel like that's where we're missing out a little bit again, is like the bigger picture things going on. John Cena heel turn, maybe the World Heavyweight Championship right now. Maybe those aren't getting a lot of the love that they deserve, or maybe they're not giving us what we could be getting, better things going on. So it's a little tough.
I
The
just thought
shows
of
aren't,
too
what's
before we
that?
go.
Yeah.
Isn't fucking Saturday night's main event like the 25th as well?
Something like that. Yeah. Saturday's main
So
event is
that's
in like a couple
squeezed in.
weeks.
I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Yeah.
talk about squeezing it right after Mania.
Yeah.
Look, Mania was what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Mania was 2 weeks ago. Backlash, I guess, technically it's the 10th, so that's what?
15 days, 2 weeks
From, no, no,
from Saturday
from,
night's main event.
I'm
Oh,
talking
from
from
Mania. Oh,
from
yeah.
Mania. It's
Yeah.
about a month,
About a month. Yeah. Yeah.
but then you're going 15 days after is
Uh-huh.
Saturday night's main event, and then what, there's 30 days in May or 31, I don't even know. Um
31. Maybe it's
I,
36. I have no idea.
yeah, I have no
Yeah.
fucking idea.
Yeah.
But Money in the Bank is the 7th. So that's 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. You're talking about three PLE level
Yeah.
shows in a 7 week span. Is that
Cena
like,
going to be at Saturday night's main event at this
yeah,
one? Maybe
yeah,
that's where we
that's
like.
the
What is he
Tampa
going to
one
do
too.
there? Yeah, what is he going to do there? Are we going to get Cody Drew at Saturday night's main event, like we were saying?
Are
Maybe.
we gonna get Cena Orton rematch? Like,
I mean, that makes most sense. But then also, like, so now you're taking away 2 of the weeks of the Money in the Bank build for Cena. Let's say, right? So what? Like, I've been saying it for ages. How do you not run back Cena Punk at Money in the Bank? You
that
don't
has
book
that
that.
has
Yeah,
zero shot at happening
yeah, it
though.
has now. Of
Yeah,
course
yeah,
it does now.
yeah,
We already
now,
know
but
that. Yeah, but like,
yeah.
imagine that was the route they went. Like, how do you build that with 2, 3 weeks, whatever? It makes me think whatever Cena's going to do at Money in the Bank, assuming he's there, it might be another Orton rematch. I don't know. Like, I can't imagine it's going to be that stellar.
I can't believe I didn't put more thought into it, but I think the actual schedule itself from Mania to hell, I'll say from Mania to SummerSlam, like
Mhm.
I think just
I
not properly paced, not
Yeah,
properly put together. So
yeah.
bit of rambling there, but
That's what we're here for, right?
SmackDown caused it.
Yeah.
Big shows next week with the Raw and SmackDown go homes to Backlash, and then it gets interesting for old C2 wrestling. We're gonna get a little foreign for a while. There's gonna be a lot of Sikoas going on. There may be some late night videos. Who knows? It's gonna be interesting, but you got to be tuned in to see it. So subscribe, turn on notifications, come hang out with us next Saturday for Backlash. Our live reactions. The card's shaping up pretty decent.
Hmm.
What is there? 4 matches now?
4 or 5, yeah, in that realm.
Yeah, yeah, I think four. There might be a
Yeah,
fifth.
might be a fifth. I gotta look it up. I don't even know what date it is. I don't know.
Yeah, just come watch with us.
See ya.